Well, students, today we will discuss the another important topic of beard, which is a Macaulay minutes. Right, guys? So under the Macaulay minutes, we'll talk about the Macaulay minute. You know, what was the Macaulay minutes? What were the features and recommendations of the Macaulay minutes? What was the objectives of the Macaulay minutes? Criticism of the Macaulay minutes. So we will talk about these all the things, under the topic Macaulay minutes. Right, guys? So, first of all, what is Macaulay Minute? The educational ideas of Lord Macaulay are known as Macaulay Minute in a one line, right, guys? The educational idea of Lord Macaulay are known as the Macaulay Minute. Okay, who was a Lord Macaulay, right? Lord Macaulay was the full name of the Lord Macaulay was Thomas Babington Macaulay, who is generally regarded as the architect of the system of education in India during the British rule. Right, guys? You always have to remember this name. It is in your syllabus. He was regarded as a architect of system of education in India during the British rule. He was a great historian, linguistic, orator, politician, statesman, and thinker. Right, guy? Basically, he was a British person, right? Thomas Babington Macaulay, and the educational idea of a Lord Macaulay are known as the Macaulay Minute. Right, guys? So further, he was regarded as one of the first great literary figure of his times. As a parliamentarian, he was also a parliamentarian in a British government. He was, as a parliamentarian, he made his mark in British Parliament. He came to India in 1834 and joined as the law member of the Executive Council of Governor General. He was also appointed as the President of the General Committee on Public Instruction by Governor General Lord William Bentinck. Right, guys? So it was, little bit history about the Thomas Babington Macaulay. Right, guys? Next, we talk about what was the Macaulay Minute's objective. What was the objectives of the Macaulay Minute? Right? So it is a very important question. Okay, always come in the exam. So the first objective of Macaulay Minute is that Macaulay wanted the government to spend more money only on the Western education, not the Oriental education. Right, guys? So when, our lecture is a Macaulay Minute, we are talking about near about, 1834, 35. Okay, we are talking about when, there was a, British government. Okay, unka jo rule karti thi India pe. Okay, we are talking about. So Macaulay Minute objective, the first objective, he wanted the government, means British government, to spend more money only on the Western education, not on the Oriental education. Oriental means Indian educations, where the philosophy and other subjects are being taught. Further, next objective, he advocated for the closure of all the colleges that taught only Eastern philosophy and subjects. Malab, he wanted on that time the colleges, the universities who are teaching about the Eastern philosophy and subject, they should be closed, they should be shut down, right? Because of Malab, he wanted to disseminate the Western education, disseminate the British education, Western education. Further, guys, we understand he also advocated for the government to educate only a few Indians who would then educate the rest of the population. And this is referred to as a downward filtration policy. Right, guys? You always have to remember downward filtration policy. Under this policy, he wanted that only a few Indians should be educated and the rest of Indians are educated by those Indians. Right? And last one is he wished to create a pool of Indians capable of serving British interest and remaining loyal to them. This group would be Indian by blood and color, but English by taste, opinion, morals, and intellect. matlab he wanted that some of the Indian education, some of the Indians should be educated, okay, and they should serve the British government as a loyal person, and those Indian, they should be Indian by blood and color. But when we talk about the taste, opinions, morals, and intellect, they should be British. They should be English person, right, guys? So you can say that it was a kind of, you know, you can say that the policy of the British government to introduce the Western education in India, right, guys? So next we talk about features and recommendations of the Macaulay Minute, right, guys? When 1835 he presented the uh, minutes of meeting of educations in the front of council or the in the parliament, which Lord Bentinck approved, and a resolution was passed in March 1835. This thing happens, na guys, how the act was made. Ana, it was passed by the parliament, Hana, upper house and lower house, and when it was passed by the both houses, so it becomes the act. So similarly, it has become the act in 1835 to introduce the English education, to introduce the English in Indian system of education, to introduce the English, right? So these are the some of the following points which emphasized on the features and recommendations of a Macaulay Minute, right, guys? So number first, in his minute on education, he justified the use of English as a medium of instruction and also the teaching of the Western educations to Indians, right? Means he introduced the education system in India, a British Western education system in India, and the first is English. The first part of features or recommendation is that English should be the medium of instruction, right? Means Indians should not be taught in a vernacular language, okay? They have to learn in the English. Next, the main goal of a British government should be to promote European culture and science among Indians, and that all the funds appropriated for the purpose of education would be best spent on English education alone, right? So guys, you know what was on that time, 1835 and 34, Hana? There were some institutions, Hana, some educational institutions who was giving coaching knowledge of the Indian education. Okay, Macaulay 1835, he came at India and he was a parliamentarian, and he made an act, he passed a one resolution, English should be the compulsory language, okay, and the English as a medium of instruction, and more and more fund should be spent on to disseminate the European literature, right? Macaulay wanted the government to spend money only on imparting Western education and not on the Oriental education, right? He advocated the shutting down of all the colleges where only Eastern philosophy and subjects were taught. Now you have understood now, when the Britishers came at India, they shut down all our institutions, okay, and they started his education, Western education in India, right? He also advocated that the government try to educate only a few Indians. These all are the part of the Macaulay Minute, features and recommendations of the Macaulay Minute. He also advocated that the government try to educate only a few Indians who would in turn teach the rest of the masses. This is called the downward filtration policy, right, guys? Further, he also lampooned. Lampoon means make fun of and publicly criticized Indian knowledge and languages and thought them completely worthless. Matlab he publicly criticized the Indian knowledge and language and said that Indian language, Indian knowledge is a completely worthless. For instance, for example, he said of an Indian literature, what he said about the Indian literature, he said that a single shelf of the good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia. So such kind of a feelings, Macaulay was, in his mind. And, he criticized the Indian literature and knowledge by saying that a single shelf of the good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia. Further, he wanted to create a pool of Indians who would be able to serve British interest. Means he started the educations in India, keeping in these all the things, policies in their mind. Malab, he wanted to create a pool of Indians who would be able to serve British interest, and they are the loyal to them. And this class would be, ye kya honge? They should be Indian by blood and color. Okay, मतलब कलर से, रंग से और ब्लड से तो इंडियंस होंगे, लेकिन पहनावे से, ओपिनियन से, करेक्टर से, मॉरल से, they would be Britishers. Okay. This class would be Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinion, in morals, and in intellect. Right, guys? Macaulay also believed that Western science was far superior than Indian knowledge. Macaulay proposals were officially sanctioned in March 1835. In 1837, English was made the court language. Means earlier 1830, before the 1837, the court language was Persian, and on that type, what the languages was used. Okay, but from the Macaulay Minute in 1835, English was made as the court language, and in 1844, high government posts were open to the Indians. To make the Indian, to make the Indian, like they should be Indian in blood and color, but they should be English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and intellect. Right? So some of the criticism of the Macaulay Minute. Okay, Macaulay Minute was criticized in the following grounds. Number first, Macaulay claim about English as only the medium of instruction cannot be justified. Right? Because some of the people criticized, and this is a criticism, some point. Macaulay claim about English as only the medium of instruction cannot be justified. It is a wrong to believe that Macaulay was responsible for introducing a new education policy in India. Right? Because we cannot say that before 1835 there was no education, and the people was they were uncivilized, uncultured. Right, guys? Basically, we are rich by Indian education. We are rich by education. We are rich by the culture. Because, guys, that first Mughals came, ruled the India, and they have broken, they have attacked all the religious institutions, educations, then after that Britishers came. Okay, so it is never being said that Macaulay was responsible for introducing a new education policy in India, and other Indian languages were neglected. This is also a criticism. Okay, because he introduced the English language, and he said that the other kind of languages, other kind of subjects like philosophy, Arabia, Sanskrit, these kind of Persian language, on that time they should be closed. He said that. So other Indian languages were neglected. His downward filtration theory proved to be more a failure for Indians. Right? Failures for the Indians. So these are the some of the criticism of the Macaulay Minute. Right, guys? So in conclusion, we can say that we may conclude that under the influence of the English education, Indians came in contact with the Western political systems. Okay, agreed, experienced the democratic practice and become conscious about their duties and responsibility for future. Okay, it helped the Indians to achieve success after the departure of the English people. In his minute, he said that a day could come when the vernacular language would die a natural death. Today, he has been proved wrong. Right? The number of people who use these languages is increasing by the day. The literature in these languages is also expanding and evolving. right guys? So this is all about the Macaulay minutes. So first we came to know that the what is a Macaulay minute, okay, and second we talk about the who was the Lord Macaulay, and then we discuss the Macaulay objectives, what was the objectives of the Macaulay minute, and last we talk about the Macaulay's minutes features and recommendations, some criticisms, and we concluded that in his minute he said that a day could come when the vernacular languages would die a natural death, but today he has been proved wrong. The number of people who use this language is increasing by the day. The literature in these languages is also expanding and evolving. So guys, this is all about the Macaulay minute, right guys? So it can come at a full-fledged questions of a 16 marks, okay, and but some short answers questions can also come from that topic, right guys? So thank you so much for this lecture guys. Thank you.